the Biden administration, is it something that the Democrats, and when I say the Democrats, I mean the media, I mean their allies, I mean all of it, will they circle the wagons the way, look what they did for Hillary. In 2016, Hillary flagrantly violated the law, but Hillary was their gal. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what she did. It didn't matter what she said and all the ways that they abused the system to make sure that she was the candidate. Now, she still lost. Thank you, Donald Trump. The big question is, are they actually going to use this, and we've talked about this all along, as the means to push out Joe Biden?
Let's talk about our boy Hunter.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about Hunter Biden. I can't believe how rapidly this story spread, Buck. I couldn't get enough of it last night. So for those of you out there who have not paid a lot of attention or have not heard a great deal about this story, yesterday, about time we were finishing the program, the Washington Post came out with a story saying that federal agents have notified the Department of Justice, the guys who were involved in this investigation, that they have plenty of evidence to charge Hunter Biden with, at minimum, felonies related to tax evasion and also felonies related to lying on a application to purchase a weapon. There are certainly many other felonies, as you and I have talked about, and many of our audience out there has known about. But I will say this, Buck. MSNBC covered this, NBC News, CBS News. They all treated it as a very serious story. MSNBC, I legitimately wondered, because their audience has been told for 2 years that this is all Russian disinformation and there's nothing to it, and a huge percentage of their audience believes it, how jarring it must have been to suddenly have a report about Hunter Biden committing felonies. What happens now, Buck? Like, you've seen all this coverage. If you could, you know how sometimes when you're playing blackjack out at a casino, when the dealer is showing an ace, he asks you if you want to surrender your bet. This is like me showing an ace right now.
Okay, all right. Settle down.
Yeah.
Settle down,
Would
Mr.
you
Clay
surrender
Travis.
your bet?
This is getting a little ahead of yourself on this one. I would say this in terms of the betting reality here, and everyone knows that our bet in about January of this year was that I didn't believe that they would bring federal criminal charges against Hunter Biden with the possibility of actual prison time. I said they may give him pay a fine, plead to a misdemeanor, or whatever,
punishment,
but federal criminal charges this year. I still think that's a good bet for this year. A few weeks ago, as we were just before this story broke, you offered me a double or nothing on extending it into next year.
Because my concern was I was worried they may not bring the charge before the end of the year.
So I will say I still feel good about my bet, but would I double or nothing right now for next year based upon this news story? I would back away from that one, meaning I think that it's unlikely it's going to happen this year. And this goes to the politics of it all, friends. It's not just about Clay and I having fun over a stake bet. The Biden administration, is it something that the Democrats, and when I say the Democrats, I mean the media, I mean their allies, I mean all of it, will they circle the wagons the way, look what they did for Hillary. In 2016, Hillary flagrantly violated the law, but Hillary was their gal. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what she did. It didn't matter what she said and all the ways that they abused the system to make sure that she was the candidate. Now, she still lost. Thank you, Donald Trump. The big question is, are they actually going to use this, and we've talked about this all along, as the means to push out Joe Biden? Essentially, because here's what I think. I think Joe Biden is both such an egomaniac and so dumb that he doesn't really...
Bad combo.
Yeah, bad combo. He doesn't really care about what's best for anything other than the greatness of Joe Biden. He doesn't care about the country. He doesn't care about what it will mean even for his party. That's why I'm so confident he will run again, which another bet that we have, that he will run. Will he make it to the end of that run? Will he be the guy who actually wins? I can't say that. Will he announce that he is running for president again formally? I believe he will. However, the Hunter issue, I think, becomes the leverage that the party has in the background, this is the leverage the party has to say to Joe, look, you can decide that for health reasons, which is entirely plausible. I mean, the health reasons have existed from day one of his presidency. He's too old and and cognitively impaired. You step aside and we go easy on the Hunter thing. That's one variation. The other variation, Clay, is the machine, the Democrat machine, which is absolutely ruthless, brings the charges against Hunter and then goes to Biden and says, you're going to have to pardon your son. We all know that, but you're politically no longer viable. So now it's step down time. That's the more sort of brass knuckles approach. Either of those seem possible to me, which is why the lib media is all over this story.
So a couple of things here building on this. One, I have seen a lot of people suddenly come around. Remember when I was on an island saying that I believed Hunter Biden was going to get charges because it would allow for Merrick Garland to bring charges against Trump, because then he can say this is not politically motivated. Whether you're the son of the president or the former president, if you break the law, you're not above the law. I still think that's the most likely outcome here. And I now am seeing I was on an island for like the last 6 months making that argument or whatever it was. And now I'm starting to see, like I saw Alan Dershowitz go on Fox News and say it. I'm starting to see other people buy in there because they're trying to get into Merrick Garland's head, which is the way that I was arguing that he was going to justify this.
Well, I think the decision, by the way, to the closer they get to prosecuting Trump, the worse it is for Hunter.
You agree that, yes.
Because then
it's hard to argue that you can charge
right.
Trump without charging Hunter.
And then as for the actual charges here, as they've been laid out, it's really two things: tax evasion and this misstatement for buying a handgun. First of all, when you see the photos, the naked water slides, the dancing around in his tighty whities with a boa and grabbing strippers and prostitutes by the ponytail, I mean, the fact that this guy bought a handgun, I mean, he is a menace to society. Just put that aside for a second. But I mean, I just want to note that.
And the crack. Can we mention the crack?
I'm sorry, I forgot the crack
yeah.
pipes during all this. You really don't want somebody with a round in the chamber walking around who's a crack smoker. That's a bad thing.
Bad combo.
And in fact, what we find is it is actually illegal. It is illegal to be a abuser of illegal drugs and have and even own a gun. And he lied on a federal form. This is difficult to prove and is not often prosecuted, even when there is a case to be brought. It's like 50-60% of cases they don't actually bring. I think the defense for Hunter here, he wrote in his memoir, just to give you a sense of, I mean, when you're incriminating yourself in your memoir,
in your own autobiography,
you're a world-class dumbass. But we already know that about Hunter, the smartest guy that Joe Biden knows.
You also feel like the law doesn't apply to you. I
sure.
think even beyond the dumbass. He feels, I mean, that's why I said the fact that he would fly all the way across the country and get on Air Force One after the Mar-a-Lago raid for a vacation with his dad when he could have just met him in South Carolina was just a thumb in the eye to anyone who claims to care about justice in any way.
And so that's one component of this. But they're going to have to prove that he was a illegal user of the drugs when he did the form. Now, maybe they can, but if I'm his defense attorney, not that I would ever want to be, I would probably say, look, he was clean during that period. And, it just gets a little bit tougher. The tax charge, though.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who is an accountant or has ever worked with an accountant says, look, the one thing that's always going to get you nailed is not declaring income. Like that's because it's a yay or nay. It's a yes or no. Did you make this money? Did you declare this money? Undeclared income. Now, he has that. That's obvious. The question then becomes, one, he paid the back taxes. So does that show enough contrition and given the political realities that because Clay, I think they're gonna make him pay a big fine. This has been my thing all along.
He's already paid $1 million in back taxes, has been reported that he owed.
Right, but I'm saying that they may bring an additional charge of some kind that will result in some kind of a penalty, forfeiture in addition to that, and also some kind of a probation. They could, if this was a normal person, say, you're actually going to spend a couple of years in Club Fed, which is what you're talking about. If they do that, I don't think there's any doubt that the sitting president would pardon his son, which destroys his presidency. It's all over, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. We come back here, I want to talk about this aspect because I'm curious what you could think, Buck. I always am trying to read the tea leaves of who's leaking and why they are leaking. Could there be a division between the FBI and the Department of Justice inside the prosecutors, inside of Merrick Garland's universe here? And the reason why I bring it up is the FBI agents, presuming that some of them are the source, because I'm curious if you would buy into the way that the Washington Post wrote this story. If they are the sources, they are saying we've had evidence of felonies for months and nobody is acting on this. Because of the Mar-a-Lago raid, the FBI has come under intense scrutiny, and they may well want the political pressure lifted off of their organization. So I'm curious if you buy in that there's conflict
That's
there.
one possibility. I have a very different possibility in mind for why this was leaked.
In terms of like corruption, conflict of interest, we've never heard a hint that there were potential criminal charges there because Hunter Biden wasn't an office holder. It was perfectly legal for him to take money from foreign governments as long as he wasn't inappropriately giving them information from his family or something. There's no hint of that. As bad as it looks, we should all acknowledge it looked terrible. He did this while his father was vice president and in charge of Ukraine issues, and he was taking $50,000 a month from that energy company, but no hint that he was ever going to be charged on that count. But again, yes, the tax charges, it's a fairly simple proposition. But now it all comes down to what is this U.S. attorney in Delaware who was appointed by Donald Trump? What is he going to decide on this case?
They are demanding that everyone be total morons. That's over at NBC. I'll just note, they used to say that there was nothing even, no problem here at all. Hunter Biden, Clay, can sell his finger paintings for $500,000 to anonymous buyers, and there's no issue. These people, that was Delanian over at NBC. Fusion Ken, one of the biggest Russia collusion fraudsters on the planet. This guy's out of his mind, okay? Start with that. But beyond that, okay, they actually, don't ever take legal advice from this guy because, you're going to end up getting life. They brought federal charges, for example, against the governor, the governor of Virginia.
Yeah.
And his wife. Because the governor of Virginia's wife accepted gifts. No one did anything. No one leaked anything. No action taken. So they already set that standard. Let's start with that. And then beyond it, you actually have to pay, even if it's all okay but looks gross. You don't get to get $5 million sent to you by a Chinese company and be like, well, this is my crack and prostitute money. Like, no one else can take this. Sorry, Hunter, doesn't work that way. Beyond that, though, Clay, I brought this up as the tease. I don't think that these are whistleblowers from the right, from within the FBI or wherever, that are saying there's enough information to charge him. I think this is preparation from the Democrat machinery, from the deep state within the federal government saying, we got the sword of Damocles here, my friends, so let's see how this election shakes out. I think they're setting the groundwork.
So you think the leak might be from the Department of Justice, not from the FBI component of the Department of Justice?
It could be from either, but I think it's meant to. I don't think it's coming from people who want justice against Hunter Biden because this has been such a cover-up. I think it's people saying it might be time for Papa to step down. So we're basically saying, nice presidency you got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
It could also, the other aspect. So I wonder if there's an FBI trying to say, hey, this is not our responsibility. It's not our choice as to whether or not charges are brought. I also, Buck, wonder on some level whether this is designed to pressure Hunter Biden into taking a plea agreement or some sort of deferred prosecution agreement.
They're not going to have to pressure him, man. I mean, these kind of, as you know, these kind of charges, tax charges and federal, it's you take the deal or you go away for a decade. Like, everyone takes the deal.
Unless you're the president's son and you're cocky and you're arrogant.
And you think he's going to pardon you. But but then the presidency's over and everybody knows that.
So I just wonder. I am fascinated by this leak because suddenly it's everywhere, even among people who were telling us, Buck, that everything about this whole laptop was made up, which we've been hearing for 2 years now.